Good morning, colleagues. My name is Heila Lotz-Sisitka. I'm from Rhodes University in South Africa. I'm joining you for this session, unfortunately not in person, but in spirit. I will be talking about assessment, just a brief introduction, and looking at assessment for flourishing. I'm going to start with a history of what assessment has been used for in education. Firstly, we have the age-old practice of assessment being used for skilled participation in society. You can see the lovely little image there of the child learning to weave, being supported by her grandmother. And that kind of assessment is based on expert judgment. It's integral to practice and also to our cultures. It involves debate, deliberation, and observation. And the kind of learning in that that gives rise, or that's involved in that kind of assessment, is participation in a practice and becoming expert over time with mentored support. With the advent of modern industrialization and the massification of education, we see a different kind of assessment for mass production and individual achievement. This kind of assessment involves mainly formal group administered testing, mostly for qualifications and selection, and it has involved a number of statistical methods for scoring tests, which has led to like a huge practice of measurement, and that measurement being used for control. And of course, with it, the dominance of examinations and summative assessment in our education systems. That little image being very typical of the type of assessment that we're talking about here. Nowadays, we see a new kind of assessment coming in, and that is the reliance on controlled, massive use of standardized machine scorable tests, and of course with the world of computational psychometrics, is trying to see whether they can integrate educational testing statistics into the dynamic analysis of big data with machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms that are potentially now also creating a new problem, which is a black box of sophisticated statistical models which few teachers, learners, administrators, citizens, and parents can understand. So a whole new scene. And one of the things that happens with this kind of assessment is that it tends to focus on what it can do as a result of the measurement structures, and it fails to do other things like look at the educational, social, and cultural psychology and how it is actually related to learning and instruction. And this has been neglected in testing as we focus on the outcome of the learner's performance and achievement. So if we're working towards ESD and we want to transform education with ESD, we need to think very differently about assessment. And assessment is very important because it is very powerful, and of course it's very important for education as a whole. So it plays an important role in the quality of student learning experiences, teacher instructional activities, evaluation of curriculum, school quality, system performance, formative improvement, and summative perspectives on achievements and competencies. But if our models of assessment are limited, then we impede transformative assessment, and the power of assessment becomes limited to us in a transformative paradigm. So we're seeing a lot of movement in the field of assessment now, particularly to try to address more complex thinking, problem solving, creativity, analysis. In other words, the higher order thinking skills, and that has led to formative assessment becoming much more popular, much more in focus. But that alone is not adequate. For ESD and transformative education, we really need to look at the underlying problem that statistical analysis of testing has become separated from psychology and education. Psychology is separated from curriculum. Teaching is separated from testing. Testing is separated from learning. And in ESD, we can even see learning being separated from the world. So where we want to improve the way that testing is linked to learning, we need to look at the failures actually for offering frameworks for assessment of transformative learning, which is required by ESD. So we need frameworks that are going to integrate the social, emotional, the cognitive, the action-orientated dimensions of education with culture as a foundation. If we look at this young girl, this beautiful flower that she planted, and just look at her appreciation and love for that flower, we can ask ourselves this question. How do we assess a child's love of a plant that she has grown? How she's smelling it, how she's appreciating it, how she's feeling, and what she's thinking? Of course, we need to do all of those if we want ESD to be transformative and the assessment of ESD to also be transformative. So in our research community, we've been trying to work with the metaphor, different metaphor for assessment for flourishing. So, and we've used the flower as a metaphor here, because a flower is to develop completely. The meaning of a flower is to develop completely and to become something beautiful, to become something whole, and of course to become part of the cycle of life. So we need that kind of assessment for our learners in the schools, and we need to be able to assess the becoming of the whole being in society: cognitive, social, emotional, action-orientated, and also relational change agency. And in our work, we've been trying to work on a little model for that kind of assessment. We call it ESD Significant Learning Assessment Model, which we've adapted from the work of D. Fink. And in this model, we focus on foundational knowledge, assessment of application, assessment of integration, the human and ecological dimensions of whatever is going on, and also caring and Ubuntu, or the relationality in society, which is an African metaphor for relationality. I am because we are. And then, of course, the important skills of learning how to learn, which is the complexity thinking, the critical thinking, problem solving, and so on. So I'm just going to leave you with that as a little stimulus for the rest of the meeting. We've been working with this little model. We're busy developing good insight into it. Our teachers are enjoying it. It seems to stimulate a creativity around the possibilities for transformative assessment. But I'm sure you'll have much more to discuss in the session coming forward. So I just want to say thank you very much and to wish you well in the rest of the deliberation. And of course, just to remind us all that the future of transformative assessment is in our hands. So thank you very much.